Welcome to the Vibrant Living Network. Have you ever wondered what is possible beyond possible? What is the thing you've been wondering and inquiring about? Are you just feeling stuck and don't know why? Are you thinking or are you seeing? Seeing allows us to expand and have this other experience. We want to invite you for that wake-up call. We want to invite your spirit, your soul, so to be more alive, more connected. Glenn Brooks has been a life coach for over 33 years, author of Divorced to Patterns, Not Each Other, an explorer of what is possible. He has worked with people all around the world. Join us for a wake-up conversation, a dialogue with you. We will have some of the most interesting contributors. We will be talking to some of the most interesting people and have some of the most resourceful teachers, wisdom-filled people from around the world join us. Share your voice, ask the questions, become free of the known into a new world of possibility. We are going to talk about all the things you wonder about: how to live, how to heal, how to connect, how to love, how to be seen. Your life is precious. Enjoy it.
Welcome. It's good being with you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Glenn Brooks for the Vibrant Living Network. I want to welcome the whole Vibrant Living team. And I've been really paying attention to my breath and my imagery, because in these moments, we pick up so much on each other. So I want to explore a little bit today, some remedies, some things you could do to kind of reset yourself. And so we're going to be talking about kind of putting yourself in a position where you could receive a miracle. Like, what is a miracle? Receiving a miracle. Of course, vibrant immunity, and of course, how the movement of your dog or dogs revitalizes our system. How movement changes us, and how you could let your dog be your movement teacher. So I want to welcome our general. I want to welcome Dr. Gayle Randall.
Morning.
Good morning. Good morning. So, and it's an ongoing source and wonder of inspiration. And our days and nights keep going deeper together. Sounds like a love poem or something, huh? I really appreciate you very much. I appreciate your questioning and your inquiry and the depth of. I do appreciate going beyond the known. And with you, I feel like I've discovered some things that meant so much. And I appreciate your inquisitiveness and aliveness. And you are that new breed of doctor that I read about when I read Dr. Nittler's book, and he says, there's a new breed of physician. And then I met you, and I realized you're the fulfillment of that. And I do call you an anthropologist, but you're an anthropological healer, because culture and our assumptions and what we presume is so powerful. And the thing is we often give that away. Even now in our culture, we cannot give away our sense of wonder and curiosity to other people's presuppositions about what defines our immunity. And because they don't know, and a lot of times that brings up an imprint of fear. So part of the purpose of Vibrant Living is to release the suffering associated with assumptions and conclusions like getting away of experiencing this bigger life. Welcome, Dr. Gayle Randall. I wanted to do the bigger one today with you. Welcome.
Wow.
What's moving for you this morning? How are you?
I'm good. I'm really good. I'm running the whole show because my office is in quarantine, and some of my staff are ill, but they're recovering, thank God. And thanks to prayer and Dr. Randall's fierce, protective medical behavior. But, you want to be on my side if there's a real problem.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, that's going on, and then I see some incredible acts of kindness, some incredible acts of compassion that are happening.
Give us something. Give us one.
Well, just because, like I took a whole pack of toilet paper and just dropped it off just kind of randomly dropped it off at a couple of people's houses. It didn't even say who gave it or anything. Just put it on their porch. I thought it'd be funny, actually, but it's also very...
It is funny.
That's awesome.
The other day, my neighbor just randomly brought lemons to my house and different things like that. I'm really hurting financially because I'm not working in the office, of course, so it's a totally different ball game. I'm trying to stay floating, but despite that, some fellow had done some really kind things, and I just sent him what he needed for free, what he needed for his health. So stuff like that.
Flexibility.
It's going around, people are just, they're being kind, and I like that. But, of course, there's the other side to it, which I don't like. And, I was weaned on HIV, meaning when I was an intern, HIV came out. And you've all seen Philadelphia story. It was just like that. There was so much hate. There was so much fear. You would gather like witches, and, a lot of these guys got Kaposi's sarcoma, so it was written all over their face. And, especially in the hospitals that's where I was working, it was awful. It was so dehumanizing for them. And, of course, I didn't abide to that. But I see some of that behavior now. Like a fellow passed away here, nicest guy in the world, passed away here in our development. People were gathering outside his house, his widow's house, not in a good way. They should have been bringing food and flowers. And they're standing out there in their masks and gloves and like, you are going to give this to us. It was like a witch hunt. Oh, and no. I really don't want to see that behavior. So I'm speaking out to all of you out there. Be kind, be compassionate. That's how we're going to get out of here. We just got sentenced another 4 weeks of confinement by the Corona God.
Yeah. They just shut that. They just shut. I believe there's one case in New Zealand. The whole country just shut down for the next month.
Right.
So I just heard that. Now I heard that Sweden has a very low cases, but they're not encouraging social distancing. I do want to get someone on from Sweden. I'm curious as a culture how they're responding to this, and I'm curious what you're saying, Dr. Gayle, that kind of the shadow, the things that the conjuring of the fears, and how we almost mechanically react to the fears. And I'm happy you're saying something, because I think a lot of people, one of my early teachers was this guy, Dr.
Message for this.
What's that?
That is not the take-home message for this. The take-home message: be kind, be compassionate, help one another. You be as one. That's what the lesson for this whole thing is about. This is an opportunity for us to come together as one people, spirited, develop our spirit, and we can do that. We're at home. We can meditate more. We can see more. We can do Kathleen sounding. We can do my color stuff. It's our opportunity to ascend in a way.
I want to welcome Kathleen Negley, the sound lady, the sound master, kind of honored by Dr. Gayle Randall. She called her the sound master. So welcome, Kathleen. Welcome. We're going to talk about how do you set yourself up consciously for the miraculous? How do you set yourself up for what Bernie Siegel called the exceptional patient? Bernie Siegel, oncologist, author of Blood Medicine and Miracles. I met him about 29 years ago, and he was saying to me that these people were different. They responded differently. They didn't have the death sentence. They began new lives. This one lawyer became a stand-up comedian. So entering the miraculous. So say a word about that, and then we'll welcome. First, I want to welcome Lisa LaRose.
Thank you.
Yes, our frequency girl, as she's known in the superhero comics. Welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
That extra superhero accolade.
I call her our wise woman.
Yeah, I know. Gosh, she's such a fan of yours, Lisa. Gayle is such a fan of yours. It's like you have this big sister in the room that's always acknowledging you. I think that's why you come regularly. I would too, by the way. I would too. I don't like when I would come and they're like, is he going to leave? But I like that. I think Gayle would be one of those people like she would be sad when I got kicked out of the classroom. But I want to acknowledge the good vibrations that are present for you, Lisa.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I want to welcome the dog mystic as well. Thank you, Lisa, for all the wonderful contributions of work. I couldn't do it. I could really only do this as a team. And my vision is to keep building this more and more and go to many, many days a week as I meet later with Jesse McGuire to go over our expanded new Vibrant Living Network, which is going to be on 5 days a week. We're also going to be building a summit. So Deepak Chopra used to say to me this one thing that I think embodies what Dr. Gayle just said and Lisa, the frequency girl, which is that when we grow old and die, we grow old and die because we see other people grow old and die. And which kind of brings us to the dog mystic, because in a little bit we're going to talk to the dog mystic about movement and our dog. So we see life and we focus on life, it gives us more life. And so right now I want you guys to exhale 3 times. And I want you to see that rainbow. So the rainbow color is the color of optimism and radiance, right? So that rainbow color. Color meditations are very significant in the day. And I sometimes realize in a moment's notice, and a shift of perception is everything. So yesterday I was in what I do every day now. I get up. I was joking to Sherry that I get up. And welcome, Sherry. Please step in. I want you to step in for a second. Say hello.
I'm here.
All right.
I'm here listening. So welcome, everybody. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Hi, Sherry.
Hi.
Hello.
Much love. Much love.
We're gonna be talking to Sherry about how you could allow. We're around things during the day. We're going to see a lot of wonder, and the idea is to let that wonder penetrate us. Let it be with us. So right now, if you're listening, if you see a tree, a bird. There's two ways of being in the day. There's one where your focus is closed, and there's one where your focus opens, and it's sort of like you're a kid again, right? Because a flow of focus takes you out of the emergency. So I want you guys, as you're listening right now, just beware your hands, beware your breath. I started my whole path in life teaching a class at the university, Stony Brook University. I wasn't affiliated with the university, but I taught a class on feeling great. And I would sort of just share with people, like I shared simple gazing with each other. I shared this idea of breathing and paying attention to how you were sitting. And when people came back, I said, you could sit anywhere around the room. So today, play with a new choice. Just play with a moment where you could do something a little different. Walk backwards. Just begin the day new, so you can get beyond the mechanicalness, right? Because a lot of, like now, there's so much density of news, but it's not really news. It's almost like it's impositional. So take moments. I had to do this yesterday. I was hiking, and I just felt this vague sense of fear. And then I realized it was sort of this. Sometimes I think we tap into the collective, what's around us. And so I just kind of found a sense of breath and focused on a moment of life, which is a tree, birds, and, of course, dogs, which we're going to get into the movement of dogs. Kathleen, you wanted to share today these prerequisites are things that set us up for a miracle. And I want to say your work is so inspiring. Your work, I met one of your, I guess, mentors or partners in this work of deep sound healing. So the idea that frequencies replenish us, heal us, remove stuck energy, very much like acupuncture, that when you treat using sounding, it wakes us up, because we are music. We are the wonder of sound, and that's why we come so alive around sound. So as a sound master, as a sound healer, you wanted to share with us today about these that would open us up, not just from the miraculous, but also impact our immune system. And you've been sharing with me, and we're going to probably get into this, some specific sounds and frequencies that also assist eradicating not just viruses, and this is sort of what I've been interested in. We'll get into it. I want to ask Dr. Randall about this a little later in the show, but it seems like part of what's been happening to people around the virus, and I'm curious what your take is. We'll dive into the three things that set us up for the miracles of the Miraculous Life. Is people's overreaction in their immunity, their startle reflex seems to be a factor. So in other words, it seems like still the constant thing is when our body's in flow and we're trusting love and the attention is really on giving love, being a conduit, we have a different kind of life, which gives us a different immune response. So the medicine, I'll call it medicine, of sound. So you yourself had kind of a miraculous thing that Dr. Randall pointed out a couple of shows there about your asthma. Share with us your journey a little bit and how sound opened your life up, and then let's get into these three things about experiencing the miracle. And just good morning, by the way. Good hearing your voice again, Kathleen.
Good morning. It's wonderful to be with you all. Well, sound was just an intrinsic thing for me. Music. I remember when I was 5 years old, under the Christmas tree was a fake alligator skin case with a plastic toy trumpet inside of it. And I opened it up, and tears of joy are rolling down my little 5-year-old face. And my parents are looking at me like, well, geez, that was a good present, But I knew, I just knew that I was a musician from a very early age. And I've always been one to play with sound, play with the sound of my voice and my body, just playing with sounds and combinations of sounds and seeing what they do. And it's all been an experiential, journey for me. But I did become a real believer when I stopped my asthma by toning the sound that made my lungs vibrate. And I don't think that was
say something about that. That's such a profound, beautiful thing you just said. There's a book I read. There was a book on experiential anatomy. And I was actually reading this book. There's a woman who wrote a book on the G-spot, and she did a chapter on the male G-spot. And I was so excited to read this chapter. I called up, and she was bike riding in New York City, and we had this conversation. But one of the things she said to me, and you reminded me of this, is a lot of people have anatomy. They have lungs, they have a gallbladder, and yet they have no experience of it. They have no experience of the wonder and the signaling and sort of the dance of the organs. So with your lungs, how did you get in touch with your lungs? What was that like? So because to heal asthma, you had a different experience of your body. You were able to access your body and your lungs in a different way.
Yeah, and I used my voice because I had been studying with Sherry Edwards, and I was learning how important the voice was, and the voice was our most powerful tool to heal our bodies. How instantly our bodies respond to the sound of our voice. And you add intention on that, into that sound, and the sound is the carrier wave for that intention, and the breath is the carrier wave for that sound. And when you're consciously doing it, magic can happen. But what I did was I just started humming different notes and different ranges of my voice to see if I could find a note that would make my lungs vibrate. And
how was that? How could people right now, particularly, how could people begin to practice that today? That one thing. How could people get in touch with their lungs that would allow them to feel that connection?
It's your heart chakra, and it's right in the middle of your speaking range voice. So if I'm kind of in the middle of my speaking range voice now, if I talk down here, that's, kind of at the bottom. And if I'm up here, that's kind of my head voice. So somewhere right in the middle of your speaking range, just start humming and see if you can feel that hum in your body. And if you're using a vowel sound of like on the hum, that's going to lower the tongue in the back of your throat, and the sound is going to go downward. And the bones are going to conduct that sound downward. So if you're humming me, your tongue is higher in the mouth, and that's going to push the sound up into your head. So I was just using a hum vowel sound on hum. just like that, just kind of playing around until I felt something. And anyone can do it. It's it's not a patented technique. I mean, it's just that I had a propensity towards playing with my voice and feeling it and seeing how my body responded to it. That was just something that I played with.
So from that experience, is that what sort of got you interested in these three? How to really become receptive or begin to experience what you call the miraculous or a miracle? But my teacher wrote a book on this. It was all about entering the miraculous, Dr. Norm Shealy. So what would you want to share with people right now?
Well,
and I love.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I also want to open this up to the panel. I want them to really dive in there with you as well. So
okay.
So you have this experience.
Going back to what Dr. Gayle was talking about, when that this situation can open our hearts and we can be kind, or we can be fearful and close our hearts, and that's a choice. So the people who were standing outside of the apartment of the woman whose husband had died with the virus, they chose fear.
Yes.
And so the people who are more likely to heal are the people who choose love, the people who choose an open heart, a willingness, a softness, an open-hearted, well, it's not a mindset, an open-hearted heart set. Because you can't think your way into it. And to get into a space, where your heart is open, I mean, some people will think about a puppy dog, or think about your happy place, and then feel, like you're there. But allowing, when hearts break, and there are many, many broken hearts now from all of these people who are dying and all the families who are missing them. When hearts break, they're open. And for some people, it's just a terrible feeling, and it's frightening, and it's scary because you're so vulnerable. But it's having the faith to allow yourself to be vulnerable, knowing that you're safe, and allow yourself to feel that vulnerability and keep the heart open. And that's our challenge in these times, of great fear. So the open heart is really the number one ingredient, to getting yourself into a place where a miracle might happen. The other piece of the pie for me was realizing that when I experienced these miracles in my life, that I also was an attitude of oneness, that we are all connected. And really understanding oneness, at the cellular level, that everything is one. And when you can wrap your heart around that, with an open heart, you're in a very good place, to allow for miracles. The third ingredient for me is like a high level of emotional and intentional frequency, a high level of energy and frequency, and which goes along with that feeling of love. But one way to get there is chanting, using your voice to chant. And you can chant your own affirmations in whatever note and whatever way you decide. I often think I should do a class in teaching people how to chant their own affirmations.
Absolutely.
But chanting is one way to get into that stream of consciousness. And the biggest example that I can use for this miracle was my wife had cancer, but she also had restless leg syndrome. And when she was under a lot of stress, it just got terrible. And it was like every 30 seconds she was flailing, and she couldn't stop it. And it went on for years. But I was, she and I had taken a weekend to go to Orleans on Cape Cod, to a cabin there, because I just needed to go out to the ocean. And I told her I need to go have a good cry at the ocean. I'm at that place where I'm just really angry about you being so sick, and I just need to cry at the ocean, because the ocean was such a big sound and such a big piece of water that my little teardrops weren't going to bother anyone there. So I went to the beach that morning, and I was meditating and playing my horn, and all of a sudden drops into my head after like an hour and a half of doing these meditations on the beach. I get this like verse that just comes in one piece. And it's like someone talking in my head saying, I am the sand. I am the sun. I am the water. We are one. Just all of a sudden that pops into my head. And I'm thinking, wow, what a wonderful little verse. Let me meditate on that for a while. So I did. And then I went back to the cabin, and my wife was sitting out on the porch having a cup of coffee and smoking a cigarette. And she's shaking her head and rolling her eyes as I'm walking towards her. She could see. And I said, what? What are you making me a face? She goes, you got a parade of spirits. You brought them from the beach. There's a parade of spirits walking behind you. I said, well, they must have thought I was interesting on the beach doing the meditations and the things that I was doing. But anyway, I said, look, I got this little verse that popped in my head, and I want to play with it. I think it's important. And so we go in, and we got a couple little hand drums, and we just start jamming on I am the sand, I am the sun, I am the water, we are one. Different melodies, different rhythms, we just jammed on it for maybe 20 minutes or so. And that really raised, so that chanting, really raised the frequency, to another level. And she said, towards the end of that, she said, I'm being told I'll never have restless legs again. And I'm seeing this energy that looks like oil in a puddle at a gas station draining out of my legs and going into the floor. And she never had restless legs again after that.
Wow. That's beautiful. And it was totally unexpected, but those were the, when I went back to dissect it, what were the three pieces so that I could recreate if I needed another miracle in my life? I wanted to be able to recreate it.
Right.
And it was that open heart, attitude of oneness, and the high frequency level of excitement and emotion about what you're doing and feeling. And those three things together put you in that space of miracles. And just one more thing about sound, too. And when you're sounding like that, sacred sound creates a space within which alignment is possible, according to your ability to receive it.
Give out your
input day.
Beautiful. Say, we come back, Kathleen. I want you to give out your free immunity exercise, sounding exercises too. So just wait 1 second. I want to send my love, my appreciation to one of my mentors, Patricia Sun, who said to me, there's only one sin, just one sin, and that's to close one's heart. But I want to talk about heart modulation and what that is, and invite Dr. Randall and Sherry Marquez and Lisa LaRose.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
I'm Kathy Williams, host of Sexy Mom Abundant Life radio show on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. On the show, we explore living abundantly in every area of your life. Ways to let go of limiting patterns and beliefs and to step into the flow of creativity and possibility, knowing you are supported by the universe.
A social distancing tip.
Putting distance between yourself and others is critical to slowing the spread of coronavirus. So here are ways to stay in contact without the physical contact part. Call, send a text, set up a video conference, post on social media, dedicate a song on the radio. If you have symptoms of fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going to their office. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part, because we're all #alone together. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome to Vibrant Living. It's wonderful having you with us, along with the Vibrant Living team. I'm Glenn Brooks. Kathleen, you're going to give out you have an immunity. Yeah, share about. You got to give out your website too, so people, can be in touch too.
My website is thesoundlady.com, and under the shop tab, you can pull down to immune support. There's a free immune support audio file that I created. It's harmonics with me playing and singing into the horn at the same time. And it's a series of notes that really boost your immune system, and it kept me healthy for many, 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 many years. So I'm offering that for free. Go get it. And just listen.
Say your full names. Kathleen's...
Kathleen Nagy at
Beautiful.
thesoundlady.com.
Good.
Or
Gayle.
the Sound Lady Boston.
I comment about what Kathleen said, because it kind of
please.
shows how we are all one. That, I've been doing healing for more than 40 years, and I think I mentioned this on the show before, but the factors that I've found that are important for a miraculous healing to take place are, as Kathleen said, at least I call it belief in something greater. She calls it being part of the one, which I also, same thing. People being ready to have a shift in perspective. I call it looking through the other end of the binoculars. And in order to do that, they need to be in the childlike place of innocence. And this, I think Kathleen called it being receptive or an open heart, and have a positive attitude, and being able to slide and spin and dance and able to move, and being flexible, instead of being stuck in thought viruses or a particular form. And those factors, that's where the magic happens, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to make a quick comment, get your response, Gayle, or Sherry, Lisa, Kathleen. So I was going through this experience where, and I share about this in my book, which is right now a treatment page. I have 2 pages. It's called Divorce the Patterns, Not Each Other. And I was going through this period where I guess you could say my only response seemed to be an open heart. And I was going through a lot of pain. And then I just got this notion. Actually, I had a session with this guy, Jason. And he was actually, it's going to sound really unusual, but he was actually physically working with my heart sac. So we have a sac around our heart. And as that was happening, I felt I was opening up this contraction. And I looked at him, and he said, how does this feel? I said, well, this is incredibly intimate. He said, yes, I can feel it. So this oneness, right, it sort of happens when we're relationally vulnerable, right? We take this pause, and we sort of pause. So what began to happen to me in this next cycle was, I had this notion of an open heart, and then I realized in certain situations your heart will modulate, so it will actually shift a little bit. So with some people, you could actually receive them because they really want to really have this deep connection with you. And with others, it's more like a little bit of discernment. Like if you imagine the heart like moving or almost like shifting a little. So if there's some kind of disbalance or maybe some hostility, it's sort of your heart has your physical heart and the whole system kind of shifts. So I started to practice the heart modulation because I just had this one stance. So I had the one stance, which perhaps of an open heart, but I realized when I modulated, and also it allowed, in that, I was able to feel a deeper heart connection. And so Patricia Sun was kind of a significant, she was the first person that I met who would make these sounds to bridge the brain gap. Because we all know we get overtrained in a certain style it's a style of thinking, right? We're an overlinear society. We overthink. We over-emerge, it's an over-emergent emergency state. When I would be around Patricia, I realized, it's this other thing. And I just read to Patricia fairly recently, my Divorce the Patterns on Each Other, which is an energy treatment. And it kind of makes you look at what you're really divorcing from and how to really find this unity. And she laughed. She said, well, it sounds like you learned a lot. And I said, yeah. I said, I caught some of this from you. And clearly when my heart was modulating. Now, during this period of discovering heart modulation, which I work with people with on walks and when I do sessions with people, I listened to this Olympic athlete who was sharing about the broken heart syndrome. And she had all the physical symptoms of dying, or feeling like she was going to die. And she said no one even, she went to psychologists and therapists and doctors, not Dr. Gayle though, and no one ever said to her, this is something else that's going on. So some of the pain we experience is also a release phenomena. It's a release phenomena, which I want to ask you about, Gayle. I want to ask you about this release phenomena. When we're in a healing crisis, what's happening is we feel so stuck or kind of held back, but also at the same time we're releasing. So I noticed it happened to me yesterday. I was sort of really fearful, and I could see on one aspect I was gripping in my mind for what's going on. I was really scared, and I didn't know what to do. So I kind of it seemed like it lifted, but it seems like we go through periods where we're regenerating or healing, and then there's another period where sort of, I guess you could call it detoxifying. Like with those people that were the witch hunt people, the people that were being that way, they were in a certain frozen state. And I think a lot of times discernment, how do we pause? How do we step back in a moment for another level of wisdom to come into life, and that release? So the release is sort of like an exhale or yawn, that little moment where you kind of reset your system, which is what we need right now so deeply. Which I've had many, many moments with you, Dr. Gayle. I love you so much. We've had many, many moments where I came to you with perceptions that were so terrifying, and I felt they symbolized new life, and I appreciate your love and your caring in those moments in between, the in-between moments.
Yeah, because what we did together is we talked about faith. If you let your faith be bigger than your fear, and you see it in a different way, like I said, shift your perspective. Fear moves you. Spirit moves you. But if you can put your faith forward, pay your faith forward, the fear melts away.
And certainly all healing is relational healing. So I want to say that.
So fear can't live in the presence of love.
Mm-hmm. And faith is a vibration of love and hope.
Yeah.
Life.
Fear can't live there. It can't. The harmonious vibrations and harmonics of faith and love, fear, which is like dissonance, can't exist.
I wanted to ask you about this, Kathleen. My teacher, Joseph Real, also works. Actually, it's part of the Tiwa tradition. Sound, every word, every act, everything is a metaphor. Every word is a metaphor. So it's really interesting way to be taught and learn. And that position of innocence, the vibration of innocence, is the O sound.
Ah.
Does that congruent with what you've channeled in?
I just got goosebumps when you said it, so I would say yes.
Nice. What better confirmation?
Well, because if a child sees something and they're excited, what are they going to say? Oh.
Very true.
So when we work together, sometimes when you get someone to make that sound, which sounds similar to your sounding, it puts them in that place, that spot.
Nice.
You can't go through cognitively. Sound can do it.
I'm so excited the dog mystic's with us today. But I love see, a beautiful thing happens when we go around. We have this almost like a portrait of wisdom. It's like an art piece. It's very beautiful. So with Sherry Marquez, our dog mystic, I said to her, I want to focus on the movement of dogs, how the movement of a dog replenishes us. So I met this actress when I discovered the work of The Infinite Way, Joe Goldsmith's work. And she said to me this one thing, and I realized, I didn't even think that I did this, but when I go to the dog park, one of the dog parks that I go to, one of the things she said to me was, this simple exercise, which is called, this doesn't require my thinking. This doesn't require my thinking. So when I would go to the dog park, and I was saying to Sherry, welcome. We're welcoming you. There's another welcome. I bonus you a welcome today. So I was saying to Sherry, I go to the dog park, and what I do is I get there and I sort of have that awareness. It doesn't require my thinking. It's almost like your mind constantly trying to figure out everything at a rate that it's not good for you. So what I do is I go there, and where I go, there's no leashed dogs. Pretty much all the dogs are running, and there's two fields. The first field, they're running and doing these dances, and I realized my regular mind, I started giving to this notion. It doesn't require my thinking, and I let the movement of the dogs move me. Like it's very moving being in that environment. So I go there, and I realized that when I get to the second field, people congregate. As a matter of fact, I was with a couple weeks ago. We were practicing social distancing, but the dogs are like circling and running around us. So the movement and the pulsation of the movement, I find replenishing. And so I shared this with Sherry yesterday, and I totally took for granted that Sherry is in a more cosmopolitan or city-like environment where the dogs are leashed. Whereas when I'm around dogs, they're unleashed and they're making this parade. They're moving, and I notice what it does. And you mentioned, Kathleen, about kids saying, "Oh," well, I realize it's an "oh" moment. It's like, "Oh, this is wonderful," and I feel it in my body. I feel it in relation to the earth. I feel my feet on the earth. And I feel like another sense of safety because I trust the movement, and then I feel that in my body. So when the dogs move, I can feel it in my chest, I feel it in my arms, and every so often I can feel it in my bone marrow. I experienced my bone marrow 15 years ago. So right now, as I speak to you, there's a sense of bone marrow. There's kind of like a different consciousness. If you're very worried. I was very upset one day, and I got into this experience of bone marrow, and I was so relaxed, and I realized, oh my God, I didn't know I could enter the planet called bone marrow. Bone marrow. So with the dogs sort of do that to me, Sherry, but I knew you had a different experience. You were like, oh, leashing the dog is so different because I had this imagery, and the imagery being the dogs running towards me and circling and doing all these different dances because it settles the humans so much. So when I get to the humans in the second field, they're so settled from the dogs running, and I hear it in their sounding. The way they call the dogs in the second field, they're much more settled. So that movement. So you were saying you had a different experience because you work with dogs that are leashed. I thought that was interesting. So I was asking you, and welcome again. I'm bonusing you so many welcomes today. The dog mystic. She's transcended the world of just training. So the world, from between being telepathic with your dog to being deeply in tune with your dog. So in some sense, you could receive the wisdom that sometimes your brain won't allow you to see or experience. So I wanted you to come and share your experience about the movement of the dog.
Well, thank you very much. And
you're welcome.
So I mean, what you were explaining in regards to, I guess, the first field, there's a lot of movement and plenty of excitement and lots of energy, and the dogs are just walking into the dog park and running around the field. So there's a lot more energy in the first section, and then once you get to the second section, then the dogs have more of a flow. Like the dogs are calmer, they got their excitement out, and they still have the playfulness, but it's not as much excitement, energy as before,
And the humans, the humans are more settled too, because even the way they tone at the dogs or call the dogs, there's a different feel in the second field. So yes, different. It's almost like they're transitioning to a different state in their nervous system. They seem more calm, and the dogs are kind of settling. And I go there for that. I realize I go there to feel that, and I practice that exercise. It just doesn't require my thinking. And then when I practice that, then I feel the movement in my body.
Well, you're feeling the release, which is a beautiful thing. And so before I start and go on, I just want to say that fear creates danger, and courage dispels it. So, like Dr. Randall said, it's just taking this opportunity to be connected and realize that this is extremely hard, but there's a healing involved. So there's a healing going on, especially with Mother Nature, Pachamama. But my condolences and my regards, and I just send so much love to the world. So I have some exercises that I want to share with you, some dog mystic exercises. And first is when you're taking your dog for a walk, just be in tune with the walk, and just take advantage of the beauty all around, and watch your dog's movements as well, and see their enjoyment as they're out of the house and getting some exercise. So instead of your regular walk where you're just thinking about things and looking at your dog, what I want you to do is once you get into the flow of the walk, just kind of like start like swaying your body and swaying your arms. So this kind of movement is kind of like sending messages to your brain as to, oh, what are you doing? Because we're creatures of habit as much as the dogs are. So you're swaying your body and kind of like releasing any blockages in your body. So you're swaying your upper torso, you're swaying your arms, you're holding on to the leash, and just like watching your dog's movements. And then so you're kind of stretching your torso, you're stretching your hips, you're getting the movement. It's the exercise that you're getting by walking, but then also moving your body in a different way. And then you can do this for a couple minutes, and then you switch over to your shoulders. And as you're swaying, then kind of like start lifting your shoulders up to your ears, and like getting your body moving a little bit more. And then after a couple minutes there, then you can start shrugging your shoulders. Like, I don't know. What a kid says, I don't know. So you're lifting up and down, and during this time you're breathing deep, and just inhale and exhale. And whether you're walking outside with a mask on and your gloves on, and it's a totally different way of living right now, and it's just unbelievable. But if you're able to take that walk with your dog, it's extremely important. So you start shrugging your shoulders. The good thing when you shrug your shoulders, then you're kind of like releasing any toxins from your lymphatic system. So I mean, you're just in tune with your dog, being in nature, and giving your body just a little bit more exercise than the normal walk, and enjoy it. Enjoy the time. So that's my first one. But my second one is
great. Thank you.
Thank you. My second one is grooming. Just sitting down on the floor and brushing your dog. They love it. They absolutely love it. Brushing your dog and just that bond. I mean, like, you know, you can even like deepen the connection by, as you're brushing the dog, then you're watching their breathing and just start breathing with them. So you have this whole interconnected amazement and energy that's flowing through the both of you. And they're absolutely loving it, and we're loving it, you know. So, and I mean, like, you know, the dogs are confused as much as we are, because they're loving it. They're absolutely loving that we're home. But they're like, what is going on? You guys are home all the time. I mean, there's definitely some awesome videos on Facebook that it's just like, can you please leave? Like, I really like my alone time. But I mean, most dogs are just like, they absolutely love the time with them. So just enjoy and build that bond with your dog, because they're healing. They're healing us and lessening the anxiety, which is beautiful.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Let them do their job, because they're angels here.
Give out one website today. And sometimes you give out two. But let's give out. I want people to focus on just one. So we're going to give out the dogmystic.com website?
Yes.
What website are we going to give out today? Yes? Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm. Thedogmystic.com.
Yeah. Thedogmystic.com. Now, yes. We're building a community of people with Sherry here at the Dog Mystic, that all these experiences that you've had, whether it's dreams or, you know, one day your dog just came up and just re-regulated your whole blood pressure, like all those things. I want you guys to really build this conversation and share your experience. Definitely email Sherry what your experience is. As we put this book together, and of course we'll have the famous story, the three Rottweilers, 3 healing story that Dr. Randall told. I love that story. And I want to thank, by the way, I just heard from Rachel Epstein. We just did something on how to deal with emergencies and disruptions through imagery. And I hear the students have really enjoyed it. So if you go to Dr. Gerald Epstein, you could hear my conversation. And one of the things we get into on that conversation, I said my love to you, Rachel, we got into how to really not making things important, which is a very significant exercise. So listen to that tape. You can find it at Dr. Gerald Epstein, who is a close teacher of mine. And so this whole thing, the whole thing is to get out of this emergency state. And by not making these things important, over-importance keeps us in this frozen state. What I wanted to ask, thank you, Sherry. I want you to ask Gayle, you to comment about this, because a lot of people are talking about the overreaction of the immune system, which is kind of interesting. So what would you say about this idea that sometimes people's immune system is over-attacking them, and that part of this whole thing is that if we could be in this other experience, it changes our immune, it gives us a more vibrant immune response rather than our immune system is so startled. What would you, I know there's a lot there, and I'm asking you with only 4 minutes to go, but I at least wanted you to comment, Gayle.
Well, just the things we talked about before. Try to stay in the positive. Have a good attitude, like Norm Shealy says. Attitude is everything.
Yeah.
You know, and we know from research that fear. Experiments on medical students actually showed them movies with fear, and anger, sadness, and war, versus movies of love and compassion. And it actually changed their T cells, which are
right.
Obviously, the love and compassion and joy movies made their T cells go up, and then the fear, hate, and low vibration energies made their T cells go down. So this is not just a woo-woo thing that we talk about. It's something that can improve your immune.
You're a serious UCLA doctor. It's not always serious, but always medicinal.
So that's what I say about immunity. You know, stay in as good of a positive attitude as you possibly can. As a matter of fact, that was my Instagram post this morning. It says, you can be presented with a cactus, but that doesn't mean you have to sit on it. Right?
Nice.
Very true. Try to keep it positive. It's been shown scientifically. This helps you. I know we can't always be 100%, but chant the O sound. Do some of the work like Kathleen is saying, and go for a walk with your dog, like the dog mystic is saying. We're all saying the same thing from different perspectives. So it's,
I wanted to give a quick thank you. I want to give a thanks and love to the people at OMTimes Radio, my proprietary partners, and also for initiating this vision of the Vibrant Living Network, the expanded network, over 2 years ago, and all the support that Chris and the others have ongoingly shown me, and I deeply appreciate it. Thank you, everyone at OMTimes. Thank you, Chris. Lisa, I want to give you 30 seconds, also known internationally as Frequency Girl, to leave a message right now. Here you are.
I would say live in the world of magic and miracles with no expectations, because those things that you can't even imagine, some things are even better awaiting for you. So just live there with absolutely no expectations. So, and have
love you guys a lot.
Beautiful.
Love you, Lisa. Love you, Gayle, Sherry, Kathleen. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Let's take care of each other. Let's really take care of each other today. Thank you. Blessings.
Love you
guys. Have a wonderful week.
Love you all.
Bye-bye.
Be safe.